That must have been the one that we moved.
George and Alice, hello. Don't move, don't move.
All the Aussies are here. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, 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 oi.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, 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 you Yenna Aussie.
The Yenna Aussie.
Sorry, Haskell and his son Mark.
Two sons.
And George and Alice.
Yes, I've got George and Alice in there as well. The trolley flag should go down a bit. That's better.
Bob and Ted.
That's better because he's our.
I love it.
Ruben is the our moral support. Here comes my mate Michael. Hi, Michael.
Yes, I want it back.
We're here.
We're here.
Because we're here.
Yeah.
Because we're here.
This is our boy chick and a half. He and his mate Avi, good boys.
Pick a colour.
This is now. Come here, I want to get you two guys on. These boys are the
Supermodels.
best. But I mean, how? I've got to get the sisters in as well. Come on, come on. Hey.
President, the March of the Living, and the Minister of Tourism in the Government of Israel, Mr. Avraham Hirschzon, to deliver his address.
I hope that one day I can bring you with Zeta here as well. Here's Zeta.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
ראש ממשלת ישראל,
But I promise
Ariel
you that I'll
Sharon.
bring you here.
Mr. Prime Minister of Poland,
That's my promise to you.
Mr. Prime Minister
your
of
sisters.
Hungary,
Okay?
אלי ויזל, הרב לאו, שרים, שגרירים, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the world, Jews and non-Jews alike. Today, Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust Remember Day, we are gathering here with 18,000 people and millions more watching throughout the world. This event is marked not of a historic day, but a day of a tremendous opportunity as well. Our coming together here today brings up the urgent need to share responsibility between citizens of the world, Jews and non-Jews alike. They should hold hands together so as to learn, study, and teach the lesson of the Holocaust. Today is a day when we must all agree to preserve the memory of those millions who died during that terrible period. We must not forget, we must declare that we will fight anti-Semitism, hatred, and intolerance wherever they are. I believe that we can never truly understand the scope of the Holocaust when we are focusing of numbers of 6 million or of thousands of destroyed community. These are numbers which no human mind can even think about it. Rather, I ask you today to think different. Don't think about 6 million. Don't even think about 1.5 million Jewish children. Don't think even of 15,000 people that were thrown to the chambers every day here in Birkenau. Think, close your eyes, and think about one little child. Think about one Sarah, 3 years old,
that were taken from her mother's hands and thrown to the chambers. Think about one Abraham, 4 years old, that were taken from his mother's hands and were thrown to the chambers. The only fault that they have is they were Jews, and they couldn't have a place on this planet to hide. And Auschwitz and Birkenau were in this planet. This, my dear friends, is a tragedy that we can never forget. Today, we have an opportunity and responsibility to make sure that the memories of what happened 60 years ago will never forgotten. Today, we offer a tribute to the people who have helped us to remember for the last 60 years more than any others. We owe a tremendous amount of gratitude to the community of the survivors. While this generation, ladies and gentlemen, is no longer alive, only history itself can serve us as a source of knowledge of what took place. Will it be history versus history? The history of the survivors? Or the history of the deniers of the Holocaust?
One of the greatest tragedies in humankind occurred on this ground and these grounds that we're walking on. Dad's a living testimony to it. Me, I'm humble because I'm with him. It's bloody hard to come up with words to describe the emotions. People use terms like roller coasters and highs and lows. The emotions are mixed. They're up, they're down, they're high, they're low. But he's here to tell you everything. They're his soul. You take me up and down with him. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
He's probably stronger than you.
He's always been a lot stronger than me. I'm the wimp in the family.
Yeah, you always cry.
Well, what can I tell you?
Stop crying.
He's
You
stronger.
ran out
That's
of tears and you ran out of tears and I picked up the pieces.
I think the older people are always stronger. We went through much more.
How do you feel?
I shouldn't say I'm happy, but seeing such a crowd, that makes me feel.
Especially young kids.
That's the most important thing for me.
Because then
I'm thanking God now I could make it now. That's it. From the future, Diana.
You shared some very
George Hellis interviewing his mother
how you
60 years on from when she left here.
this morning you mentioned that you actually didn't remember the words that you said. Have any of those words come back yet?
Some of them, I shouldn't say happy and fruitful.
What's in Hungarian?
Hogy látni a fiatalokat.
To see the young people.
The young people are here with us and interested because we just can share it now. And
We didn't know what went on. We saw smoke, but we didn't know that they were burning them there.
and when you did know,
We found out a long time after,
how long after?
about 4 or 5 months.
So did you think when you knew Hashem had abandoned everybody?
In a way, yes. In a way, yes.
Did you feel any anger towards him because of that?
Definitely.
Did
Definitely.
you?
Very much so.
Did you say anything? Did the other ones with you say anything?
It's a matter of fact, I asked, where are you? Look what you did to us.
And you got no answer.
You got no answer.
And none of the rabbis can give you an answer
None of
either.
the rabbis can give me an answer.
Only the Mashiach will tell you.
Mashiach came to me in 1945.
And what did he say?
And he said, you're a free man.
11th of April.
11th of April 1945.
In
He said, you're a
Buchenwald.
free man.
I admire all the Buchenwald boys. I think what these boys do are fantastic. To go through what they went through, survive, and be the strength and solidarity they are today.
And tell the story.
And they can tell the stories for our kids, grandchildren, nieces and nephews.
60 years later.
60 years. It doesn't matter, 60, 100 years later.
And they're all 80.
Kanai
least.
Nahova. Kanai Nahova.
Kanai Nahara.
You've got 4 years with strength.
How many?
4 is 80.
He's made you 80 years of age.
I'm not 80 yet.
You're 79.
No.
78.
Wasn't?
76.
Oh, she's a youngster.
I'll be 70.
Job.
Every day.
Sure, it's every day.
But you'll do good. You'll outlast all the youngsters.
I hope so. No, I don't want to last over the
I mean today, not
today, yes.
today. As long as they see you, they will know what to tell their children.
Yeah, and they've got to talk
But
about
I'm
it.
trying to educate them.
Third generation will be the last generation that will know the survivors.
It is my honor to call upon the Minister of Education of Ireland, Ms. Miri Hannison, who represents the Ministers of Education of the Council of Europe.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my very great honour to have been invited to speak on this solemn occasion on behalf of the European Ministers of Education of the Council of Europe. Remembrance is a blend of sensitivity and reason. Victims are honoured, and a sense of responsibility is aroused in all generations through significant and unforgettable events. And so it is with this March of the Living, with people who have come from every corner of the earth in testimony to the everlasting presence of an irreparable wrong. Survivors are intermingled with thousands of young people, and thus together we bear witness to the bond that unites us,
She's better now.
to a solidarity that endures through the ages of life and for all time. To the witnesses of the cruelest hours, we, the Ministers of Education of the 48 signatory states of the European Cultural Convention of the Council of Europe, give our assurance that they will never again be alone or abandoned. Here in Birkenau and Auschwitz, and so many other places in Europe, we are overcome by the echo of the heart-rending laments of so many. Men, women, and children cry out to us from the depths of the horror they knew. We must heed their cry. We must neither forget nor ignore. No one can diminish its scale. As the Nobel laureate Irish poet Seamus Heaney wrote, no poem or play or song can fully right a wrong inflicted and endured. So our task is to remember. But we wish to remember for a purpose, namely to ensure that never again will evil prevail as it did for the millions of innocent victims. The evil that turns humanity against humanity, cheapening its life, degrading it, bent on its destruction, still lurks in the world. Evil does not rest, and neither must we. Another Irish scholar, Edmund Burke, said, "Evil will thrive where good men do nothing." And it is by remembering the unspeakable horror that did in fact happen that we remain alert to the possibility that what happened could be attempted again. As educators, as teachers, we know that it is through remembering educating and understanding, that we can learn from the past to respect human dignity and to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past. To future generations, we proclaim the undertaking of the Council of Europe that they will never know such horror. The Council of Europe has constantly concerned and involved itself with many initiatives and actions for the recognition of the Holocaust and for the prevention of crimes against humanity. We all join together in acknowledging the March of the Living as a symbol of this long-term action. It is an invitation to carry on our efforts to ensure that such things never happen again. In my own native language, in hope and in optimism for future generations, we march together.
No.
Thank you very much.
But we've seen people on the wires there, on the fences. Burned.
Did any of the yids tell you when you got off the train to say that you're a carpenter or a plumber or something important?
No.
They told him to lie about his age.
They said you to make yourself younger or older?
Older.
Older.
When Mengele asked Dad how old he was, he was told to say he was 17.
And how old actually was he?
12.
No, 14. 14.
Did you realise that they're trying to make you older so you could survive?
They told me, I didn't know that I'm going to survive, but they told me if
so you had a better chance of surviving.
I had a better chance to survive, yeah.
So Yossel and Golda and the family. 2005, 60 years later. After my uncle walked out of here in January with his brother who got shot a few kilometres down the road, another brother who got gassed. Don't go back any further. A kilometre down these tracks.
With your permission, I will speak in Hebrew. נאספנו כאן היום 20,000 נפש, בני דתות שונות ולאומים שונים, מנהיגים ואזרחים במצעד החיים. מפגן מרשים ומעורר השראה של הזדהות ושל זיכרון. אני הגעתי לכאן היום מירושלים, בירתה של מדינת ישראל, המקום היחיד בעולם שבו יש ליהודים את הזכות ואת הכוח להגן על עצמם בכוחות עצמם. הגיעו איתי מישראל ניצולות וניצולי שואה ששרדו את הרדיפות, ההתעללויות, ההשפלות הפיזיות והנפשיות. גיבורים אמיתיים שעברו את צעדות המוות, האקציות והחיפושים, שניצלו מאושוויץ, מבוכנוולד, מברגן-בלזן, מהגטאות, מגאיות ההריגה, ממחנות הריכוז וממחנות ההשמדה, ששמותיהם מעוררי הפלצות כתובים בתולדות עמנו בדם. נשים וגברים שעזרו בתוכם כוח לעלות לישראל, להיאבק על תקומתה, להקים בה ביתם ולחנך בה ילדים, נכדים ונינים. ביקשתי מהם שיצרפו אליהם למשלחת את נכדיהם המשרתים בצה"ל. אני בטוח כי כל עמיתיי מנהיגי מדינות העולם זוכרים איך העולם עמד אז מנגד ושתק. אל תיתנו להם לשכוח, זכרו את שתיקת העולם. וזכרו דבר נוסף, זכרו מי אתם. צעירים יהודים בני חורין, בני עם שבניו פזורים על פני כל היבשות, ואני מקווה שיום יבוא וכולם יתרכזו במדינה היהודית בישראל. אכן פזורים על פני כל היבשות, היום באין ספור מדינות, אך ליבו במקום אחד, במדינה שהיא מדינתו, מדינת ישראל, מדינת היהודים. דגל המדינה הזו, הדגל הכחול לבן שאתם אוחזים עכשיו בידיכם, והוא מתנופף כאן ברוח בעוז ובגאווה, זה הדגל שהיה חסר כאן כל כך לפני 60 שנה. זכרו זאת, אל תשכחו זאת לעולם.
It is my honor to call upon the Prime Minister of Poland, Mr. Marek Belka, to deliver his address.
The Holocaust committed by the Nazis turned this country, where most of the European Jews used to live and where their culture used to flourish, into a massive grave. This is why initiatives to revive Jewish culture in Poland are so important. For years in Kazimierz, Kraków, the Jewish Culture Festival has been held. Próżna Street in Warsaw is being rebuilt, and the Museum of the History of Jews in Poland is going to be erected in Warsaw. We teach about the Jewish culture in schools and at the university. Doing so, we try not only to restore the memory of the Holocaust, but also the memory of the presence of the Jewish people in Poland and their contribution into the development of our country and its culture. In fact, what we are doing is rediscovering our own roots too. Ladies and gentlemen, I have had the honor to participate many times in the commemoration of the Holocaust in Poland. At the Bełżec Memorial in June last year, in the anniversary of the extermination of the ghetto in my hometown, Łódź, Litzmannstadt ghetto in August last year, and this year in January in the anniversary of the liberation of the Konzentrationslager Auschwitz-Birkenau. Those were the days one cannot easily forget, full of grief and meditation. The message of those days should pervade to all people in the world. The tragic events of the World War II should make us immune to hatred, xenophobia, racism, and anti-Semitism. In 1979, in the very place we are here, he taught about humanity in a place which was built on hatred and disrespect, in the name of an insane ideology, in a place which was built on cruelty. John Paul II reminded us about a respect for another man, a respect for his personality, his conscience, about a dialogue with other people, with other men, an ability to seek and recognize whatever can be good and positive in a man of other ideas than ours. Let us keep these words in mind, and perhaps then our world will be better. Thank you.
Versorgnis keinmal auf, du gehst den letzten Weg. Od Himmel feien verstellt neue Tag. Kommen bald noch unser Volks gewählte Schor. Svet erbeugt und unser Trott mir seinen Lohn. Kommen bald noch unser Volks gewählte Schor. Svet erbeugt und unser Trott mir seinen Lohn. Grünem Palmenland bis Land von weißen Schnee. Wir seinen Dom mit Wurde fein mit unser Weib. Und wo gefallen dieser Tropfen unser Blut, sprotzen Peter unser Chore, unser Blut. Und wo gefallen dieser Tropfen tropfen unser Blut, sprotzen fett dort unser Tore, unser Boot.
The renowned author and Nobel Peace Prize laureate, a survivor of the Holocaust, Professor Elie Wiesel, to address us now.
כבוד ראש ממשלת ישראל ושרי ישראל, Mr. Prime Minister of Hungary, Mr. Prime Minister of Poland, Chief Rabbi Lau, my fellow survivors and friends. This place is a special place. It is special because people made it special. Especially atrocious, especially inhuman. In this place of misfortune, malediction, and darkness, a few steps from where we stand now, the history of humanity has stumbled into an abyss of unparalleled deceit, cruelty, and calculated savagery. In this place, a few steps away from here, innumerable victims, men, women, and children, were driven from sealed cattle cars straight to the so-called showers, where, in unspeakable agony, they watched each other as they desperately tried to catch a last breath, and were robbed of the last dignity granted to all humans, the dignity of dying in peace. In this place, not far from here, a young Talmudic student from Hungary, on Beit Sivan, the second day of Sivan, 1944, he saw for the last time his mother and his little sister. They didn't even say goodbye to one another. Separation here meant death. Here, everything meant death. Here, that young Jewish boy thought he had lost his sanity. Here in this place, one could have thought that this was the end of Jewish history. For that was the enemy's goal, the enemy's intent, the enemy's plan, the enemy's program, the enemy's determination to bring an end to the history of a people 3,500 years old. And so, my good friends, lift your eyes and look at the sky. It is a cemetery, an invisible cemetery, the largest in history. For the first time in Jewish history, the victims were not brought to what we call Kever Israel, to remain in the land, in the earth of our people. Look around you and you wonder how could entire communities, multitudes of human beings, all descendants of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, could they have been brought here in atrocious conditions to suffer and vanish in such a small geographic place? How could 10 to 12,000 human beings be annihilated in one day and one night? Try to close your eyes and try to listen. Somehow the prayers of the old and the laments of the young, as they were walking in their death, to their death. Try to imagine them as they are still hovering in the air, waiting to be received by the celestial tribunal. Can we imagine what went on inside? Surely you have visited the places here that used to be the crematoriums, the gas chambers, inventions of the 20th century. Don't even try. Mothers holding their children, fathers whispering to them not to cry. The last moments. Here, the inmate was never alone. Never a moment of privacy, never a moment of isolation. Always surrounded by the dead. Here we did not live with the dead. We lived in death. Here we learned that one can live one life, only one life. But one dies in 1,001 manners. My good friends, often I wonder, especially lately, with the passing of years, have my eyes seen the ditches with the Jewish babies thrown into the flames? I confess to you that there were times when I began doubting. I doubted my own perception, and I was wrong to doubt. I checked with friends who arrived, also from Hungary, at the same time. Yes. I checked with historians. Telford Taylor, the prosecutor in Nuremberg, he consigned it in his document. There were Jewish babies thrown into the flames alive in this place. So that night I was here, awakened to a demented reality, witnessing that which no human being should ever be condemned to see, the ultimate cruelty of man, the total disgrace of creation, the limitless outrage of and to the human condition, and the unavoidable realization that in extreme situations, it was here that evil minds have shamed creation and its creator. Here, for the first time in history, Jews recited the Kaddish for themselves while they were still alive. So, what does one do today with our memories? That is really the question. And the question is not the only one, we have so many. The silence of the world, the indifference of the bystanders, the cruelty of the cruel, and the helplessness of the victims. This place, Auschwitz, Birkenau, did not come down ready-made from heaven. It was imagined by man, conceived by man, constructed and ordered by man, who usurped God's name and his function in deciding who shall live and who shall die. And so, to the nations of the world, we address the memory of our pain and we say, it is here that we all have become orphans. It is here that humanity has lost its innocence. It is here that you must come, be it in thought, if you wish to renounce hatred as a religion and violence as a solution. Remember the killers, and your anger will move you to reject fanaticism, racism, and anti-Semitism. They are a disgrace to whatever human nobility is. But remember the victims, and you will open your heart to compassion. And above all, remember these young boys and girls who are here with us. When you go back to your lands, Jewish history has not ended here. It was wounded, but it remained alive, filled with renewed creative energy. From this place, many of you will go to Israel, where Jewish memory has blossomed and Jewish resolve deepened. And so, when you are in Israel and you walk in the streets of Jerusalem, remember what you have seen here, what you have learned here, what you have heard here. Strange as it may sound, both places, here and there, are part of our extraordinary history, filled with vision, melancholy, but hope, for there is no alternative to that. And I'm saying this in this place where nothing but true words must be said. Not embellishing anything, not reducing anything, but the truth. And the truth is that in this place, we have all the reasons in the world to give up on humanity, but we shall not give up on humanity. And surely, we have all the reasons in the world to choose anger, and we shall not yield to anger. Hope is what we all need, and hope is what we can give one another.
הם שלחו את הנשים לתאי הגזים. נורא היום היה לשמוע את הזעקות ואת הייסורים של הנשים ושל הילדים, וזעקו מה מטאטה, ואחרי כמה דקות נחנקו.
כשפתחו את הדלתות ראית, כולם היו פצועים. כל אחד רצו לשרוד, רצו לחיות, אז כל אחד שרת את השני. משהו זוועתי. קשה להבין שבני אדם יכולים לעשות ככה.
מה עשינו להם? מה עשינו להם? למה הם עושים לנו את זה?
אמא שלי לא יום ולילה רק בוכה. יום ולילה רק בוכה. שניים הלכו לה בחודש אחד.
היה לי שני אחים, הגדול והיותר קטנים, הם היו במטהוזן.
כל הזמן חשבתי רק דבר אחד. אולי יישאר מישהו, שיהיה לי משפחה. האמת היא שאף אחד לא נשאר.
אשאל ואם אפשר ענו לי על השאלה, מהו האוצר הכי יקר שבעולם? לא תקנו אותו בכסף, הוא ניתן חינם, ואם אותו רק מאבדים זולגות דמעות חייו. שנייה כזו אם מקבלים חבל על הדמעות. מי אשר יודע טוב מאוד. Yiddish mama, I miss her more than ever now. My Yiddish mom, I long to kiss her wrinkled brow. I long to hold her hand once more, as in days gone by, and ask her, please forgive me for things I did and made you cry. In Wasser, in Feuer, wollt sie geläufen vor ihr Kind. Mit halten ihr Teil, das ist gewiss die größte Sünd. Oi, wie glücklich und reich ist der Mensch, was hat, als a schöne Matune geschenkt von Gott. Nur a Matitschke jüdische
Dudu Fischer sang A Jiddische Manne.
Prime Minister of Poland, Prime Minister of Hungary, ministers, leaders, rabbis, friends, brothers and sisters, founder of March of the Living, Minister Abraham Hirschsohn, my brother to misery and sufferings together in the Buchenwald concentration camp, Professor Elie Wiesel, boys, girls, friends. As a child here in Poland, born here and living in the shadows of the ghetto of Piotrków Trybunalski, labor camp in Częstochowa, and then in the concentration camp of Buchenwald, Weimar, Germany, I remember myself thinking almost all the time about one word. And this word with the question mark, I never found an answer. The question was dlaczego. Dlaczego, which means why. Why? What did I say? What was my crime? Why do I suffer? Why am I freezing? Why am I starving? Why am I so frightened all the time? When I see the boots of the Gestapo coming soon, when I saw the dogs coming upon you, frightening you, and when I saw the wagons of the train closing the train, animal veggies, wagons, and all the time I asked,
No, I put it here.
You're not from Israel.
My father was beaten with a rubber stick, length of a meter.
No, you need this.
I never understood why. I was with my mother in the attic and she put cookies of honey in my mouth, not to ask the word lachego, not to give a tear, not to cry, not to say a word, because there were other people with us in the same attic looking at me with frightened eyes if the baby of 5 years will say something, and we are all going to Treblinka immediately. It was mentioned here before, the author of Holocaust, Katzetnik, who said in the Eichmann trial in Jerusalem, that here, this cursed ground of Auschwitz was in a different planet. And then he fainted on the podium, at the pulpit of his witnessing. And I met him several times. Yechiel, I disagree with you. This was not a different planet. This was the same planet we live here. We lived then. It's too easy to solve the problem saying this was a different planet. Different planet? Didn't they hear the same music? Didn't they read the same books? Didn't they smell the same flowers? Didn't they embrace babies, their own, and us torn into pieces, thrown to the flames? How can you say a different planet? It was here.
I'm not Israeli, I need it.
The amazing thing, the frightening thing is that sometimes I think we didn't learn anything of the lesson of Auschwitz. If you can find here,
My uncle too.
not far from here, 1 hour flight, Kosovo, 1 million people
Give it to someone.
perished. Why? Do you know why? When I saw the pictures on 68, 2 million children, babies, died of starvation in Biafra. Do not kill your neighbor doesn't mean Africa as well. Aren't they human beings? A different color. Still human beings. 68, it could happen. 2 million children. Why? Lachego. Sometimes I think that we, in the same planet we live today, and we must go out from here, from this 18th March of the Livings, these 21,000 gathered people from all over the world. Don't we understand at least what the snake understood? That we have common enemies, like poverty, like crime, like ignorance, like atheism, like terror, like anti-Semitism, like atom, like cancer, like AIDS, like heart complaint. We have a lot of common enemies, mankind. Isn't it time to understand that we must live together? Here in Auschwitz we learned the message how we died together. I'm here from the first March of the Living. I never failed even one, because I found necessary to lit the candle, to lit the torch, and to show and to say and to express, especially to the young generations, we must live together in understanding, in friendship, hand by hand.
Even the sun's coming out.
אני חייב לומר לכם, לסיום דבריי, בבוכלוולד, במקום שהיינו אלי ויזל ואנוכי, באתי לביקור ראשון ב-91. התחילה אפשרות שמסך הברזל יתרומם מעט. אפשרו לי להגיע לרבנסבריק, שם נרצחה אמא שלי בברוטליות, בגיל 44, ולבוכלוולד שם ניצלנו אחי ואני. השער ניצב על כנו. עם כתובת מברזל שאומרת כל אחד לגורלו. זו הייתה הכניסה. זה אומר. השעון עומד על כנו, כדור פגע בו, והוא ניצב על אותה שעה. כמו בעת שנפגע השעון. 60 שנה. הגענו לשם אז מספרים. הפטלינג 117030. הגענו לשם פעם שנייה כבני אדם, בני חורים, במדינת היהודים. אבל נדמה כאילו העולם עמד מלכת. שום דבר לא השתנה. כי מצאתי בחדר העינויים בבניין של המפקדה בציפורן מישהו חרט בקיר בעדן החלון עשוי אבן, חרט בציפורן 5 אותיות עבריות, נון, קוף, וו, מם, עין. נקומה! נקומה הוא דרש. ריוונש. מה זה הנקומה? זה צוואה בעיניי. הנקומה זה לזרוק אבן, אני לא מסוגל. לירות באדם חי, אני לא יכול. אבל הוא אמר נקומה, ומה שהוא כתב, רבים אחרים חשבו. מיליונים. הנקומה היא שאנחנו פה, אנחנו עם חי וקיים. הנקומה היא שבאנו הנה עם דגל כחול לבן, עם מגן דוד, לבוא ולומר בכל דור ודור עומדים עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מידם, והאמונה שלנו לא תגווע, והנר שלנו לא יכבה. הנקומה היא שאנחנו בבית, הנקומה היא שיש לנו מולדת, הנקומה היא שיש לנו שומר ישראל, הנקומה היא זאתי הנקומה, ואני ממלא פה צוואה קדושה של האומלל הזה שחרט בציפורן באבן הקיר. נקומה. מלחמה להשם בעמלק מדור דור. זה שיש המשך מדור לדור, זוהי המלחמה האמיתית, הרוחנית והנצחית בעמלק. עם הלקח הזה של המשכיות יהודית, של המשך המורשת שלנו, של הנר שלא יכבה לעולם, אני יוצא מכאן בתחושה ובאמונה ובגאווה גדולה. עם ישראל חי.
We, the Jewish people, are a peace-seeking people. We built our national homeland and rebuilt our people out of the ruins of the Holocaust. And we say again and again, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people lives. I hereby declare the ceremony concluded. Kan tam hatekes.
Too good.
got cars. I think.
There's a nun here.
I don't know that. No, I guess they didn't.
He was second.
I noticed the whole thing.
He was second.
Australian students and the Australian adults and our visitors as well.
Can't hear.
We've chosen this place for our ceremony today because we haven't had a chance to look at the camp properly, but this is crematoria number 3 behind us. And you can see, just to explain it so that you understand and you think about it when we're having our ceremony, the people were made, this was a whole complex, this area here, and the people were made to walk down those stairs, and they were told to get undressed and put their property and put their clothing, label it, make sure they knew exactly where it was, and they put it downstairs here in the undressing room. And then they were told they were going to have a shower. So behind me here, just from where this starts, we can see the pylon to where the roof has caved in. That was the gas chamber. And after that took about 20 to 30 minutes, then is the area where the crematoria are. So we thought that this was an appropriate place. There are 4 crematoria complexes. Number 4 is the one where there was an uprising, so the commando uprising. I'd like to pass the microphone to one of Saba's granddaughters, Saba Feniga, who's going to introduce Saba, and she'll give her testimony here.
As you all probably know already, this is my grandmother, and I've just written a little speech that I want to say. I've longed to come to Poland for several years now, hoping and waiting for one or both of my 2 grandparents who survived the Holocaust to accompany me in my travels, as their presence would add so much to my experience. To be able to visit Poland with my Nana by my side every step of the way would provide me with a sense of fulfillment, and that I have honored my Nana's courage, bravery, strength, and undying will to live. Being able to visit Poland with not only a survivor but my Nana is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and although I have heard her story and read her book, to be by her side and in the place of the occurrences of her account allows me to share with my grandmother the painful memories and support her in every way, making sure that she knows how proud I am of all that she has overcome throughout her entire life, and how happy I am that she is still here with me today. Nana, you not only possess the incomprehensible amount of strength and will to live, but the strength to start a new life. It is because of you, your courage, and your love and passion for life that my sisters and I stand here today. It is because of your enormous heart, love, and dedication that you have created such wonderful and loving children, my mum and my Auntie Helen. I only hope that as your granddaughter, I have managed to acquire even half the amount of courage, strength, bravery, dedication, and love that you possess.
Today, under grey skies, I have returned to Auschwitz-Birkenau as a witness of what took place here. I give my testimony in front of you, the Australian Jewish youth. This moment, when 3 of my grandchildren and my niece, my late sister's daughter, stand beside me, is very significant. They, just like some of you, are part of a miracle. Your presence here is a symbol of defiance of the Nazi intention of the annihilation of our people. So is the blue Star of David here, where I came wearing a yellow star My attempts at conveying to you my feelings are constrained by words. Today, I cannot, neither would I want to, make you feel the terror, bewilderment, and helplessness which overcame me 61 years ago when I was facing events far beyond human understanding. The Nazis' perfidy of deception had its intended effect. The ghetto inhabitants were to be resettled, a euphemism for sending us to be exterminated. To mislead us further, we were told to take our tools of trade while the liquidation of the lodge ghetto was taking place in the summer of 1944. It was August. I chose the day of my birthday to register for resettlement, and I thought of it as an omen of whether I was to live to see my 21st birthday. I even arranged a meeting place with my sister Edda. It was to be Paris, under the Eiffel Tower at 12 noon. Hardly anybody, certainly not I, knew about concentration camps, let alone about the existence of Auschwitz. The greenery which surrounds us here presents an incongruous sight, for I have memories of a barren landscape, except for one spot. Is it a deception caused by my own mind, or rather a conclusion that the lawns where the main ceremony took place have been nurtured by the ashes of our dear ones? My mother's two sisters, one a beloved aunt, the other my stepmother, also registered with me for resettlement. We took with us most needy possessions. I took my winter coat. I even took my fashionable hat. To ensure I do not lose photographs of my parents, older sister, and my dear girlfriend, I attached pockets to the lining of my coat. Equipped with some bread, we began our journey. The uniformed Germans at the station rushed and pushed us, ensuring the cattle wagon was full. Tightly packed, there was hardly room to move, let alone to sit on the wagon's floor. The sound of the heavy doors sliding shut had stayed long in my memory. People's calls for water went unheard. Many fainted. A bucket stood on the floor, and when nature called, both men and women had to use it in the presence of
Und mein Mama hat die Zürich als Halten nicht gekannt. Und als sie die Polizianten schlugen mich mit Schwesterkanten, soll schon der Tag kommen, euch heute nicht. Good, everybody. Oh, you're right. Good, you're back here, boss. You're again for the lake. I'm going to join Venom on his Skype and hot up me last month. I love the beats and use them for the night. Hi. Mensch Gott allen, kriegt das nicht für kein Geld, man gibt es nur im Sicht. Und will es Gott verleugnen, der weiß schon, wo's ihr gemeint. Und ja, jüdische Mann, sie macht doch süß die ganze Welt. Oh ja, jüdische Mama, euch will ich bitte, wenn sie fällt. Glücklich und reich ist der Mensch, was hat, I wish I had it today. Als glücklich, scheine immer schon ein Geschenk von Gott. Nur ein altes jüdische Mama, oi Mama, you mine. Yes, Tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, laika, shibala, laika, tumbala, laika,
I'm here for you.
Tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, laika, shibala, laika, tumbala, laika, tumbala. Innerlich ihr Bucher, ich will dir empfehlen. Ein Stein kann wachsen und leben. Als kann weinen, weinen und brennen, und eine Liebe kann brennen und nicht brennen. Tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, laika, shibala, laika, tumbala, laika, tumbala. Oi, wenn, es sieht nach Halus. Wenn, nach es in Kibbutz, wenn doch essen, singt das Lied, soll nicht vergessen. Tumbala, 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 laika, tumbala, 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 laika, laika, shibala, laika, tumbala, laika, joy! No!
Muchas fiestas no pasan,
muchas fiestas no pasan,
alegrías y placer,
alegrías y placer,
las pastelicas vou comer,
muchas ricas vou
con
comer,
alegrías y placer, la cosa me enrica y la miel,
una candelita,
Los pastelikas vokume.
Los patalicas.
Con las mendricas y la miel.
Con las mendricas y la miel.
Los pastelicas vokume.
Los pastelicas.
Con las mendricas y la miel. Last time.
Ocho candelas para mí. Ocho candelas para mí.
The survivors are true heroes who have led the educational efforts for remembrance, and as look ahead, we must preserve them and promise them that even when they cannot speak for themselves, we continue to speak and to continue their brave work. Today, we must accept the torch of responsibility from the survivors and promise the world that we will never allow remembrance to the lesson of the Holocaust. And we will always ensure that those lessons will be embraced. Ladies and gentlemen, our challenge is to take the message of hope and peace that are represented by our gathering here today and declare to the world that we will never allow this crime like those to be carried out again. For the sake of a better world, we have no choice but to accept this challenge. Let us come together today to declare that we will commit ourselves and we will build a better life, a better world for ourselves, for our children, and for generations to come. Let's declare here from Auschwitz, all of us together, the 21,000 people, never again, never again, never again.
The David Mizmor, that's also said on a weekday when the Torah is put away. The David Hashem Mori, that's the penitential psalm which is said during the month of Elul up till Yom Kippur, till Shmini Atzeret. Lam Natzeh with Korach. That's the Tehillim that's said 7 times before they blow the shofar. That's a prayer for the people who live here, who were living here. And you can see each panel has been dedicated. The names at the bottom are in memory of somebody or other who are obviously the community.
Fifth line.
break one of the arms